They always told me not to visit. Said the house was under renovation for years. At first, I believed them. There was no reason not to. My name is Caroline Mercer. I am a retired literature teacher from a quiet town where life moves slowly and predictably. My days used to pass in soft routines: morning coffee, tending to my garden, and reading on the porch while the world drifted by. I thought my story had already been written. I was wrong. My son, Michael, was everything a mother could hope for. Brilliant, kind, and deeply devoted to his work as a pediatric doctor. After marrying Sophie, a researcher with a sharp mind and a quiet intensity, he moved away to the coast. They bought a house overlooking the ocean. But every time I asked to visit, he gave the same answer. Not yet, Mom. The place is still a mess. At first, it sounded reasonable. Renovations take time. But slowly, the calls became shorter. Then fewer. Then, silence. I told myself he was busy. That life simply pulled him in another direction. Still, a quiet ache settled in my chest, one I could never quite explain. Then one morning, everything changed. A man called me. His voice was calm, too calm for what he was about to say. He introduced himself as Michael's attorney. There had been an accident. A boating accident. Michael and Sophie were gone. I remember the sound of my cup slipping from my hands, shattering against the floor. But grief didn't come crashing in all at once. It crept in slowly, filling every corner of my body until there was nothing left but emptiness. Days later, I sat in a quiet office across from that same man. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a key. And a note in Michael's handwriting. He had left me the house. The same house I was never allowed to see. "You'll understand when you get there," the attorney said gently. Understand what? That question followed me through sleepless nights. The key felt heavier than it should have, as if it carried more than metal, truth, maybe, or something far darker. For years, I had waited outside that locked door. Now, it was finally open. And for the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted to step inside. But I did. Because some truths don't wait forever. And some lies are never what they seem. The drive to the coast felt longer than it should have. The sky hung low and grey, as if even the world itself hesitated to reveal what waited ahead. The ocean stretched beside me, restless and endless. I kept hearing Michael's voice in my head, soft and distant. "Not yet, Mom." By the time I reached the house, the clouds had begun to part. It stood alone on the edge of a cliff, bright against the dark sea, surrounded by wildflowers swaying in the wind. It didn't look abandoned. It didn't look unfinished. It looked perfect. Too perfect. I stepped out of the car, expecting noise, tools, workers, something. But there was nothing. Just the sound of waves crashing below. The key slid into the lock effortlessly. Inside, the air was clean. Sterile. Not like a home, but like a place where life and death quietly passed through. I walked through the rooms slowly. Everything was organized. Polished. Not a single sign of renovation. Then I opened a door that changed everything. Inside was a medical ward. Small beds lined the room. Machines blinked softly in the dim light. 4 stands stood beside them, as if waiting for patients who had just stepped away. But there was no one there. In another room, I found shelves filled with files. Children's drawings were taped to the walls, bright stick figures, smiling faces, messages of hope written in shaky handwriting. My heart tightened. This wasn't a house. It was a clinic. A hidden one. A secret. The next morning, I returned with gloves and determination. I needed answers. I needed to understand what my son had been hiding. In a locked cabinet, I found files, each labeled with a child's name. Photos. Medical records. Letters from parents filled with gratitude. And one phrase repeated again and again. A treatment protocol. It wasn't experimental chaos. It was working. Children who had been given no chance were getting better. My hands trembled as I read through the letters. Parents thanking Michael and Sophie for giving their children more time, more birthdays, more laughter, more life. Tears blurred my vision. All those years, I thought my son had pushed me away. But he hadn't. He had been protecting something. Something bigger than himself. Something the world wasn't supposed to see. And somehow, I had just walked right into the middle of it. The ocean sounded different now, heavier, almost like a warning. I sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by files, trying to make sense of it all. Every page told the same story. Hope where there should have been none. Sometime after midnight, I heard it. A car. Gravel crunching outside. I turned off the light and waited. The front door opened, not with a key, but with a code. 3 people stepped inside. A woman in medical scrubs froze when she saw me. The others stood behind her, tense and uncertain. "You must be Caroline," she said quietly. They introduced themselves as doctors and staff, people who had worked with my son. That's when they told me the truth. This place wasn't just a clinic. It was a sanctuary. A place for children who had been abandoned by the system. No approvals. No funding. No rules. And according to them, my son had saved dozens of lives. But to the outside world? It was illegal. Dangerous. Something that needed to be shut down. And it wasn't over. There were still children here. Hidden nearby. Alive, but running out of time. The next morning, I found a video Michael had left behind. His face appeared on the screen, tired but determined. "Mom, if you're watching this, it means we failed to keep this safe." My chest tightened. This place is hope. But we're running out of time. He paused, as if searching for strength. "Promise me, you'll help them." The screen went black. And just like that, the weight of everything shifted. This wasn't just his secret anymore. It was mine. But I didn't have time to decide what to do. Because the threats started almost immediately. Calls from unknown numbers. Warnings to walk away. Messages telling me to forget everything I had seen. Then I met the man behind it all. A polished smile. Calm voice. Empty eyes. He wanted control. The research. The cure. The future. But not the children. Never the children. That's when I understood something clearly. My son hadn't died in an accident. He had been silenced. And now, they wanted me to stay silent too. I had spent my life avoiding conflict. Teaching literature, grading papers, living quietly. But grief changes you. It strips away fear. And leaves behind something stronger. I made a decision. If they wanted silence, I would give them the opposite. I contacted a journalist known for exposing hidden truths. When she arrived, I told her everything. The clinic. The children. The threats. Nothing held back. The story spread faster than I expected. Suddenly, the world was watching. Some called my son a hero. Others called him reckless. But the silence was gone. And that's what mattered. The pressure built quickly. Families began to speak out. Survivors came forward. Proof surfaced everywhere. And those who tried to bury the truth started to panic. That's when I set the final piece in motion. I met the man again. The one who thought he could control everything. This time, I let him talk. And he did. Enough to reveal everything. Enough to expose the truth. When the authorities stepped in, his confidence shattered. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not mine. His. But when it was over, I didn't feel victory. I felt release. Because this was never about revenge. It was about finishing what my son started. Months later, the house by the ocean changed. It was no longer hidden. No longer silent. Children laughed in the halls. Doctors worked openly. Hope was no longer a secret. Sometimes, I sit by the window and watch the waves. I think about the key that started it all. A small thing. Simple. But powerful enough to unlock the truth. People often ask me if I wanted revenge. I tell them no. Revenge fades. But purpose? That stays. And sometimes, the greatest act of defiance is simply refusing to let the truth die.